it is great to be a part of that. And that's one thing, too, that we forget. Even though we are medical, we wear the uniform. We're active duty at that point in time, and it is an honor to serve with these guys.
I heard the guys in my squad, they were yelling, like, is everybody okay? You know, what happened? Was anybody hit? I couldn't say anything. I was like in a lot of pain that I couldn't even like yell out like, I think I'm hit or anything like that. I just kind of like laid there.
Our job here is crewing missions to the United States and also recovering patients from downrange in Afghanistan and Iraq. We've got aeromedical evacuation crews, ground support, and critical care air transport teams.
As soon as the plane lands, our crew drives up, we load them up onto the bus and get them up to the hospital.
The acuity levels are quite high for patients coming downrange. These patients are not only stable, but some are only stabilized. They're a lot more critical. They could be hours out of an operating room type scenario, or out of a field hospital to have to come up to Germany for treatment. Sometimes 24 hours from the impact of injury to a field hospital to Germany. Sometimes these guys wake up and they're in Germany and barely recognize what happened to them and realize all the different levels of care they've gone through to get to where they're at.
All right, if you have any problems between now and then, I'll be here for you, okay? Thank you.
Get you back over there and your fob right away, huh?
I'm a no baby.
How long you here?
For 9 months. I've been here for 4. No pain? All right.
Once they arrive at Ramstein, they are brought over by ambulance to Landstuhl, where we receive them.
Did you get a count on litters?
We got 11 patients, 10 normal patients and 1 CCAT coming in.
We've known about their arrival for the last 24 hours and have been tracking their movements in a global patient movement system. Our team of nurses in the DWMIC discuss with the doctors before the patient's arrival their condition, what service they'll go to, medical service, surgical service, whether they need to go directly to the ICU. So all of those arrangements are known and made before the patient even steps foot in Germany.
Jacqueline Bush here. Welcome to Germany. Thanks for all you've done. Just focus on getting better and looking after yourself. Anything we can do to help, we're here to help.
Right away, we meet the buses that come in. They build a whole flight list, and so we know what kind of patients. We get a whole patient medical record. We can read about all their injuries, what to expect, how they've done, how they've been resuscitated. And then we get heads up for wheels down, and that means that the plane has landed at Ramstein, and then we hear en route, and the bus brings the patients over to front of the ER, where the ICU team, the nurse, will meet the patient, and then we accompany him up to the ICU.
You doing all right?
The levels of care go from 1 through 3 in the combat theater. Level 1 would be soldiers taking care of soldiers and the combat medics on the battlefield. Level 2 are what we would have the battalion aid stations where they enter the medical system. Many of the level 2s now also have surgical capability because that's been an emphasis to bring surgery as far forward as possible to try to stop bleeding and save lives. Level 3 are the deployed hospitals, and then level 4 is us.
Can you turn the monitor towards me a little bit?
We do it in a safe, controlled environment. We're not being mortared or rocketed here, and we have more capabilities here than they do downrange just by virtue of not being in a deployed setting per se. And then what we try to do is we try to decide then who needs to be evacuated back to CONUS for further treatment and recovery. who can be recovered here for a period and who can go back to their job. Because again, our job also is not to just send everybody home. We're supposed to conserve the fighting strength. We're supposed to identify patients who may be able to go back to duty, and many patients want to do that.
I was in the front of my squad. We were walking down, and I was actually looking on the road. And I remember I looked forward, and right there, I just saw it. It was a directional IED. Started yelling at my squad, you know, get back, run. We got about 10, 15 meters away, and they blew it up. They set it off. I didn't black out or anything, but instantly I was on my face. I was on the ground. I couldn't really feel my arm or my legs. I didn't really know what happened. I was kind of shocked. I was in pain, but I couldn't even yell out I think I'm hit or anything like that. I just kind of laid there. One of the guys came up to me, one of my guys. I remember him yelling back at everybody else saying Hernandez is hit. He's bleeding out. I remember him putting some pressure on my leg. I remember him saying that my right arm was messed up. He's like, you're bleeding. He's like, man, he's bleeding everywhere. They dragged me quite a ways from what I remember. They kept having to switch out, just taking turns. They dragged me up onto the bird, and I was scared. I didn't know really what to think. It was I mean, the last thing I expected to happen that day was me end up being on a helicopters flying out from downrange. I was worried how bad it was. I didn't know how everything was. All I know is I'm looking up, I'm in pain, and people are just rushing around me, doing all this stuff, trying to give me medicine and, you know, telling me it's gonna be all right.
This isn't a race, yeah. This is complete tortoise. Take your time. The plane will wait on you.
On the helicopter, I remember them trying to get me with an IV. They were having trouble. I know my body wasn't letting them. They kept trying to stick me in. I know they didn't give me morphine because like Corman said that I had a cut on the side. They thought I might have had something wrong with my lungs, so they couldn't give me morphine. So I remember just hoping that they can get that IV in and just give me some morphine for pain. Thanks for everything.
Do you need me to print your med sheets or something? Yeah.
By the time I landed, I was pretty drugged up. They had me feeling pretty good, and everything seemed to kind of go by in a flash. Every time I would blink my eyes, I felt like I was somewhere new. They were moving me, and more people were working on me. I mean, the next thing I know, I was in the hospital, and they had all my clothes off, and there were just people just lifting my legs, my arm, and just working. I remember telling the doctor that I wanted to go back out, and they said to me that I'm probably going to Germany, but I didn't really believe them at first. I just kind of really wanted to be with my guys, and it kind of upset me just the fact that I was going to be coming back earlier before them. I really didn't want to, but I know it's best that I come back. So by the second day, I pretty much realized I had to. You know, I had to come to Germany, and I was going to be going back to the States.
I think it's an extremely rewarding job on one hand, because we're taking care of these people who have put their lives, their health on the line for their country. And so every day it is rewarding to try to do everything you can to get them home to their families and get them back as functional as you can, to give them as much of their life back as you can. What is the hardest part is seeing those patients that come through and you can't give them their life back. The patients with very severe burns, the patients with spinal cord injuries and paralysis, the patients with multiple amputations. Seeing these young men and women come through is an extremely hard thing to bear, but you know, I take comfort in knowing that we're trying to give them the best chance for the best life after those injuries that we can.
The hardest thing is just knowing I'm going to get to go back before them. Really don't want to, but, you know.